The thunder cracked like the world splitting open, and in that instant, I knew nothing would ever be the same between us. Rain hammered the tent walls with the fury of 1,000 unspoken regrets, trapping Scarlett and me in a cocoon of nylon and desperation, our breaths mingling in the humid air like secrets finally exhaling. As lightning etched her face in stark silver, she whispered the words that had festered in her soul for a decade. "Elena, I've loved you since we were kids, every single day, every stolen glance, and I buried it because I thought it would destroy us both." I froze, my heart slamming against my ribs harder than the storm outside. Scarlett's eyes, those deep hazel pools I'd known since we were gangly teens racing bikes down the cracked sidewalks of our Seattle suburb, held a terror I'd never seen before. We were 30 now, both of us, me with my freelance graphic design gigs barely paying the rent in a cramped Capitol Hill apartment, her chasing park ranger dreams in the shadow of the Olympics, where the evergreens whispered promises of freedom we both craved. This camping trip was supposed to be our reset, a weekend escape from the grind of adulting, from the boyfriends who'd come and gone like seasonal rains, leaving us drier than before. We'd laughed about it on the drive up, windows down, indie folk tunes blasting from my beat-up Subaru, the Salish sea sparkling to our left like it was cheering us on. "Just us girls," she'd said, punching my arm with that grin that always made my stomach flip in ways I chalked up to sisterly affection. But now, in the belly of this tempest, her confession hung between us, raw and electric, pulling at threads I'd ignored for years. I reached out, my fingers brushing her damp cheek, feeling the tremor there like an aftershock. "Scarlett, why now? After all this time?" My voice cracked, not from fear, but from the sudden clarity crashing over me, the way her hugs lingered a beat too long at holidays, the jealousy that flickered in her eyes when I dated that barista with the tattoos, the late-night texts about dreams she never fully shared. 10 years. We'd met in 8th grade, bonding over shared disdain for algebra and a mutual love for sketching wildflowers in the margins of our notebooks. She was the bold one, with freckles like constellations across her nose and a laugh that could chase clouds away. I was the quiet dreamer, sketching her portrait in secret, telling myself it was just art. High school blurred into college parties and part-time jobs, our friendship the one constant amid the chaos of hookups and heartbreaks that never quite fit. We'd both dated men, safe, expected paths in our conservative-leaning families, but something always felt off, like wearing shoes 2 sizes too small. And now, here we were, soaked to the bone in a national park campground turned battlefield, the Pacific Northwest's wrath mirroring the storm I'd always sensed brewing inside her. She pulled back slightly, her flannel shirt clinging to her like a second skin, revealing the soft curve of her collarbone I'd admired 1,000 times without admitting why. "Because I can't anymore, Elena. This trip. Seeing you laugh with that wind in your hair, talking about your latest failed date like it was just another Tuesday, it gutted me. I thought hiding it would keep us safe. Mom's Bible-thumping sermons, Dad's golf buddies with their real man jokes. I was scared it'd rip us apart, that you'd look at me like I was broken." Her words tumbled out, laced with the salt of tears mixing with raindrops that had seeped through the seams. Outside, the wind howled through the Douglas firs, bending them like accusations, and I remembered the summer after college, when she'd vanished for a month, coming back thinner, quieter, claiming a solo backpacking trip. I'd worried, but she'd brushed it off. Now I wondered if that was when the weight had become too much. I shifted closer on the sleeping bags we'd zipped together for warmth, our knees touching in the confined space that suddenly felt vast with possibility. "Scarlett, you're not broken." God, I felt it too, the pull, the what-ifs. Remember that night in Portland after the concert? We danced until dawn, and I swear, in that crowd, it was just you and me against the world. My pulse raced as fragments of memory surfaced, her hand on my waist, guiding me through the throng, the brush of her lips against my ear as she sang off-key lyrics. I'd woken the next morning in her borrowed hoodie, her scent, lavender and pine, wrapped around me like a promise unkept. We'd laughed it off as girls' night excess, but the ache had lingered, buried under layers of denial and distraction. She nodded, a small, heartbreaking smile breaking through. I do. I replay it every time I'm alone in the ranger station, staring at the ceiling while the owls call. But then life happened, your move to the city, my job out here in the wilds. And I convinced myself it was a phase, that loving you that was just misplaced friendship. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the tense interior like a confessional, and in that glow, I saw the girl she'd been, the one who defended me from bullies with fists and fire, who'd shared her last Snickers bar on bleary-eyed study nights. 10 years of half-truths, of toasts at weddings where we'd both stood as bridesmaids, eyes locking across bouquets of white roses, wondering if the other felt the same invisible tether. Tentatively, I cupped her face, thumb tracing the line of her jaw, feeling the rapid flutter of her pulse mirroring mine. It's not misplaced, Scarlett. It's real. And maybe the storm brought us here for a reason, to wash away the bullshit we've been telling ourselves. Our foreheads touched, breaths sinking in the dim light, and for the first time, the air between us hummed with permission, not pretense. The rain eased to a steady patter, as if the skies themselves were holding their breath, waiting for what came next. As dawn crept in, gray and tentative through the mesh window, we emerged from the tent like survivors of a shipwreck, the forest around us dripping jewels from every needle and leaf. Our hands brushed as we packed, sending sparks at my arm, and I caught her stealing glances, shy now in the light of day. "What now?" she asked, voice soft as the mist rolling off the sound in the distance. We were an hour's hike from the trailhead, but the rail journey stretched ahead, back to Seattle, to families and friends who might not understand, to the quiet reshaping of a bond we'd both guarded too fiercely. I squeezed her fingers, lacing them with mine. We figured out. Together. No more hiding. The words felt like vows, simple yet seismic, and as we shouldered our packs, the path ahead wound through ancient cedars, sunlight piercing the canopy in golden shafts that promised renewal. But beneath the romance of the morning, a shadow lingered. The truth she'd hidden wasn't just about love. It was laced with pain I'd yet to fully grasp. Little did I know, that confession was only the first crack in a dam built over years of silence, and the flood it unleashed would test us in ways neither of us could imagine. We drove back in companionable quiet, the radio murmuring soft acoustics about lost loves found, the Olympic mountains fading in the rear view like reluctant guardians. Scarlett's hand rested on my thigh, a casual anchor that sent warmth pooling in my chest, but her eyes held a distant storm, hints of the tempest not yet fully spent. By the time we hit the ferry terminal in Bainbridge, the Puget Sound choppy under a sky still bruised purple, she'd gone quiet, staring out at the water as if it held answers. "Elena," she said finally, as the boat lurched from the dock, "there's more. About why I hid it so long." My stomach twisted, not with dread, exactly, but with the gravity of unspoken histories. We'd shared a tent a night, a truth, but the full weight of 10 years pressed down, demanding its due. Over coffee in a harborside diner that evening, steam rising from our mugs like fragile peace offerings, she began to unravel it. The place was a Seattle staple, formica counters scarred by decades of elbows, the air thick with fry grease, and the murmur of locals nursing hangovers. We claimed a corner booth, knees bumping under the table, and I watched her fiddle with a sugar packet, shredding it into confetti of her nerves. "It started senior year," she said, voice low, eyes fixed on the harbor view, where freighters ghosted in the dusk. "That party at Jake's Lake House, remember? Everyone drunk on cheap vodka, bonfire crackling like it was devouring secrets. How could I forget? The night air sharp with pine and smoke, bass thumping from speakers, bodies swaying in the firelight. I'd been there with a date, some forgettable jock, but my eyes had tracked Scarlett across the yard, her laughter cutting through the haze as she danced with abandon. She took a breath, the words spilling like rain she'd held back. I kissed a girl there. Not just any girl, Lila, the artist from art class, with that pixie cut and tattoos like stories on her skin. It was impulsive, hidden in the boathouse shadows, her lips tasting like cherry lip balm and rebellion. It felt
Right.
electric, like waking up. Her cheeks flushed, not from shame, but from the memory's heat, and I leaned in, hanging on every syllable, my own pulse quickening at the image of her, young and daring, claiming a piece of herself in the dark. But the next day, word got out. Jake's little brother saw, blabbed to his crew. By Monday, the halls were a minefield. Whispers like knives, notes stuffed in my locker calling me dyke in sharp scrawls, guys leering like I'd invited it. Scarlett's voice tightened, fingers clenching the mug until her knuckles blanched. I remembered the shift then, her sudden withdrawal, the way she'd skip lunch to eat alone by the bleachers, her sketches turning darker, thorns twisting around wilted roses. I'd asked, hovered, but she'd waved it off with jokes about teen drama. Mom found out too, she continued, eyes glistening. Overheard the gossip from her bridge club vultures. She sat me down with that leather Bible, quoting Leviticus like it was a verdict. This isn't you, Scarlett. It's a phase, a sin to pray away. Dad just looked away, like I'd disappointed his golf score. My throat burned with vicarious rage, imagining her, 17, fierce Scarlett, caged by fear and judgment in our sleepy suburb where raincoats hid more than weather. And me, I whispered, the question a blade's edge. Did you think I'd judge you too? She met my gaze then, raw and unflinching.
Worse.
I thought you'd pull away, that our friendship, the one pure thing, would shatter. You'd always been the steady one, Elena, with your plans and your smiles that lit rooms. I couldn't risk losing you, so I buried it deep, dated the safe boys, laughed at the crude jokes, told myself it was just a blip. But every time we were close, like that Portland night, it clawed its way up, begging to breathe. The diner hummed around us, oblivious to the earthquake in our booth, plates clattering like distant thunder. I covered her hand with mine, feeling the calluses from her ranger work, rough and real. You should have trusted me. I would have fought for you with Mom, with anyone. Hell, I think I was fighting my own shadows back then. The admission slipped out, surprising even me. Truth was, I'd crushed on girls too, fleeting fancies in college dorms, dismissed as experimental, but none had rooted like what simmered for Scarlett. Her confession cracked me open, revealing the mirror she'd held up. We left as night fully claimed the waterfront, street lamps pooling gold on wet pavement, the Space Needle a glowing sentinel in the distance. Walking arm in arm to my car, the city buzzed with life, buskers strumming covers, couples murmuring under umbrellas, but we moved in our own bubble, tentative steps toward something new. At my apartment door, she hesitated, keys jingling in her pocket like wind chimes in a breeze. Can I stay? Not for anything. Just to not be alone with it all tonight. Always, I said, pulling her inside, the door clicking shut on the world outside. We collapsed onto the couch, a tangle of limbs and fleece blankets, her head on my shoulder as some mindless rom-com flickered on the TV. But sleep evaded us, words weaving through the dark, stories of near misses, of crushes on mutual friends we'd both eyed but never claimed, of the quiet rebellion in choosing solitude over settling. By midnight, her fingers traced lazy patterns on my arm, and when our eyes met, the air thickened with the unspoken invitation. I turned toward her, heart a drumbeat in my ears. Scarlett. It was all I managed before her lips found mine, soft at first, tentative, tasting of diner coffee and salt-kissed relief. Then deeper, hungrier, 10 years of longing uncoiling like a spring. Her hands framed my face, thumbs brushing tears I hadn't realized were falling, and in that kiss, the world narrowed to the warmth of her mouth, the hitch in her breath, the way our bodies fit like puzzle pieces long separated. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed, laughter bubbling up through the intensity. Finally, she murmured, and I nodded, words failing where touch succeeded. That night, we explored each other with the reverence of rediscovery, fingers mapping freckles and scars, whispers cataloging desires held in check. It was messy, profound, a claiming that healed old wounds even as it stirred fresh vulnerabilities. As we lay spent in the rumple of sheets, her body curled against mine, the city rain pattered against the window like applause. But dawn brought reality's sharp edge. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister. Family dinner Sunday. Bring that guy from work. Scarlett stirred, reading over my shoulder, her expression clouding. The coming out, she said softly. It's not just us anymore. I set the phone down, pulling her closer. Our truth was out between us, but the world waited, arms crossed and expectant. Little did we know, the real storm was just gathering, family fractures, old flames resurfacing, and a secret from Scarlett's past that threatened to drown our fragile new beginning. The week blurred into a haze of stolen moments and electric anticipation. Workdays dragged, my sketches turning abstract swirls of red and gold, Scarlett's hair in sunlight, while she texted from the park, photos of misty trails captioned with inside jokes that made me blush at my desk. We met evenings in hidden corners, a dim brewpub in Fremont where craft IPAs loosened tongues, her foot hooked around my ankle under the table, a twilight walk along the locks, salmon leaping in the fish ladder like metaphors for breaking free. Each touch built us higher, but so did the whispers of doubt. What if this was just storm-fueled fantasy? What if the world pushed back? Sunday loomed like a thunderhead. My family's gatherings were rituals, Mom's pot roast steaming on the table, Dad's bad puns over pie, my sister's kids tumbling like puppies. They'd met Scarlett 100 times, the best friend tag a comfortable shield. Now, as we pulled up to the Queen and Victorian, its porch swing creaking in the breeze, my palms slicked with sweat. We don't have to say anything yet, I murmured, but Scarlett shook her head, hazel eyes fierce.
No.
I'm done hiding. If we're doing this, it's all in. Her hand in mine was steady, a lifeline as we climbed the steps. The door swung open to hugs and chaos, my niece tugging at Scarlett's jeans for Aunt Scar's piggyback, a role she'd played since the kid could walk. Dinner unfolded in fits of normalcy, passing the peas, debating Seahawks trades, laughter echoing off floral wallpaper. But under the table, our knees pressed, a secret current. It cracked after dessert, when my sister, bless her oblivious heart, leaned in with a wink. So, Elena Spill, that guy from the office, when do we meet him? The room stilled, forks pausing midair. I glanced at Scarlett, her nod a green light, and the words tumbled out. Actually, there's no guy. But there's someone. Scarlett and I were together. Silence stretched, thick as fog off the bay, Mom's fork clattering to her plate. Dad cleared his throat, face a mask of confusion. Together?
Like.
Friends together? Scarlett's grip tightened, her voice steady as ancient oaks. More than friends, Mr. Hayes. We've loved each other for years, hid it because we were scared. But no more. My sister's eyes widened, flicking between us, then softened with a dawning smile. About damn time, she said, raising her glass. Toasts all around for love that sneaks up like a good plot twist. Relief flooded, but Mom's face crumpled, tears carving tracks down powdered cheeks.
This.
It's against everything. The church, Elena, what will people say? Her voice broke, laced with the same fear that had caged Scarlett a decade ago. Dad patted her hand awkwardly, murmuring about giving it time, but the air soured, accusations veiled as concern bubbling up. We left early, excuses about early shifts, the drive home silent save for the wipers swiping at a sudden drizzle. In my apartment, Scarlett paced, fury simmering. I knew it. The Bible Brigade strikes again. I pulled her down beside me, arms wrapping tight. It hurts, but it's their fear, not ours. We'll weather it. We did, that night, making love fierce and affirming, reclaiming power in each gasp and arch. But the call came at midnight. Mom, voice trembling. Come over. Please. We need to talk. The reconciliation was jagged, tears, hugs, halting questions about how long, and is it real? Dad admitted his own college experiments, buried under marriage and mortgage. Mom clung to prayer books but promised therapy, a bridge extended shakily. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress, a family bending instead of breaking. Emboldened, we ventured public, hands linked at Pike Place, stealing kisses amid fishmonger shouts, brunches in Capitol Hill cafes where rainbow flags fluttered like welcomes. Scarlett's Ranger crew embraced us with backslaps and invites to potlucks, their rough humor a balm. But shadows crept in, an anonymous note in her park mailbox, slurs scrawled in marker. Go back to the woods, freak. She shrugged it off, but I saw the flinch, the way her sketches reverted to thorns. Then came the real gale, an email from Lila, Scarlett's high school ghost. Heard her out and proud. Miss our boathouse days? Coffee. Attached, a photo, Lila, older but still ink-adorned, smiling from a Brooklyn gallery opening. Scarlett's face drained of color as she read it aloud, voice a whisper. She was my first, the one who made me know. After the fallout, she moved away, but we wrote for years, secret letters like lifelines. Jealousy twisted in me, sharp and irrational, visions of young Scarlett in shadowed embraces, words I'd never shared. Do you still love her? The question hung, vulnerable as exposed roots. She set the phone down, cupping my face. Lila was a spark, Elena. You're the wildfire. But seeing her stirs it up, the pain, the what-ifs. I need to close that door for us. They met at a neutral cafe in Ballard, Scandinavian minimalism a stark contrast to the emotions churning. I waited outside, pacing fog-damp streets, heart a storm of trust and terror. An hour later, Scarlett emerged, eyes red but clear, pulling me into a hug that smelled of espresso and resolve. It's done. Letters exchanged, truths aired, no regrets, just goodbye. She wished us well, said she always knew I'd find my forever. Relief crashed over me, followed by guilt for doubting. That night, we talked until stars wheeled overhead, about insecurities, about building trust brick by brick. It drew us closer, intimacy deepening beyond bodies to souls bared wide. Yet fate wasn't finished testing. Winter gripped Seattle, gray skies mirroring moods as Scarlett's annual checkup loomed, a routine turned revelation. Benign cyst, the doctor said, but the word lesbian in our chart triggered a referral to a support group where stories echoed hers. Rejection, isolation, the quiet toll of hiding. It bonded us to a community. Women like us, sharing potlucks and protests, rainbow scarves waving at pride. Spring thawed the chill, our one-year storm adversary marked with a return to that Olympic campsite. No tent this time, a cabin, fire crackling, wine warming veins. As rain tapped the roof, echoing that fateful night, Scarlett knelt, a simple band glinting, rose gold, etched with through every storm. Marry me, Elena. Let's make our truths vows. Tears blurred my yes, and in the firelight, we promised forever, not perfect, but profound. The world outside might rage, but inside, we'd built a haven. Love the anchor holding us steady. 10 years hidden, a lifetime to live out loud. Our story, messy and magnificent, a testament that storms don't just reveal, they remake. The cabin's wooden beams creaked under a fresh squall, but inside, the air hummed with a different energy, charged, celebratory, as if the universe itself toasted our yes. Scarlett slid the ring onto my finger, her touch lingering, eyes sparkling with that mix of mischief and depth that had hooked me since day one. To us, she murmured, clinking her glass against mine, the Cabernet's ruby depths swirling like the passion's weed uncorked. We made love then, slow and deliberate, mapping each other's bodies with the reverence of pioneers claiming new lands, her fingers tracing the dip of my spine, my lips charting the constellation of freckles across her chest. Afterward, tangled in quilts that smelled of cedar and us, she whispered dreams, a small ceremony on the beach at Golden Gardens, vows exchanged under driftwood arches, our families, mended, if tentatively witnessing. But reality, that relentless editor, inserted footnotes. Planning began in earnest over brunches at Le Panier, croissants flaking onto napkins as we debated guest lists. "Mom's coming," I said one drizzly April morning, scrolling emails on my phone. "With caveats, as long as it's not too showy." Scarlett snorted, buttering her pain-o chocolate. "Showy? Honey, we're eloping to Vegas if she pulls the piety card again." Laughter bubbled, but beneath it, the old tension simmered. Her parents had warmed slower. Holiday cards now included "proud of you both," but visits were stiff, laced with sidelong glances at our linked hands. Work intruded too, my freelance drying up amid algorithm shifts that favored flashy reels over thoughtful designs. Scarlett's park budget got slashed, furloughs looming like storm clouds over the trails she loved. Stress-frayed edges, snapped words over forgotten chores, silences heavy as fog. One night, after a row about wedding costs, my thrift clashing her "screw it, life's short" vibe, I stormed to the balcony, Seattle's skyline a glittering taunt. She followed, arms wrapping from behind, chin on my shoulder. "I'm sorry. It's not you, it's the fear. What if we can't make it work? The world loves to bet against us." I turned, cupping her face, rain misted from the eaves. Then we proved them wrong. Again. The kiss that followed was apology and anchor, reigniting the fire that storms had forged. We compromised, a modest beach affair, potluck style, inviting our patchwork tribe, my sister and her brood, Scarlett's ranger pals with their flannel and folktales, Lila even, as a nod to closure, her presence a graceful ghost. May bloomed riotous, rhododendrons exploding pink along I-5 as we drove to scout the site. Golden Gardens sprawled golden in the sun, gulls wheeling over eelgrass flats, the sound a sapphire expanse. We paced the sand, envisioning arches of salal and fern, waves lapping a natural isle. "Perfect," Scarlett breathed, spinning me in a clumsy waltz, her boots kicking up damp grains. But as we picnicked, PB and JS and stolen smooches, a shadow fell. Her phone buzzed, a park alert. Wildfire watch. Could cancel shifts for weeks. Her jaw tightened, the ranger in her ever vigilant. That vigilance saved us later. June's heatwave birthed blazes in the Cascades, smoke choking the city like regret. Scarlett deployed, chainsaw in hand, her tech sparse. Hot as hell. "Miss your cool hands." I fretted at home, volunteering at a release center, sorting donations amid the acrid haze. Pride weekend arrived amid it all, parades postponed, but we marched anyway, a smaller procession down Broadway, signs reading "Love in the Smoke" and "Queer and Unquenched." Hand in hand, we chanted through the pall, her grip fierce, a reminder that even in obscurity, our light persisted. The fire season peaked in July, Scarlett returning gaunt, eyes hollowed by exhaustion. I nursed her with soups and stories, our bed a sanctuary of recovery. "Saw things out there," she confessed one midnight, stars obscured by ashfall. "Fires don't discriminate, take the greenest groves." Made me think, life's too fragile to withhold joy. Her words, born of blaze, fanned our resolve. Wedding prep accelerated, vows drafted on napkins, playlists curated with Joni Mitchell's Ache and Brandi Carlile's Triumph. August brought clarity, skies washing clean after monsoons. Our families converged for a rehearsal picnic, tensions taut as tent ropes. Mom arrived with a quilt she'd pieced, fabrics from our childhood dresses, a tapestry of yesteryears. "For your bed," she said gruffly, avoiding eyes. Scarlet hugged her, whispering thanks that cracked the ice. Dad grilled salmon with ranger buddies, tales of near misses bonding them. Even Lila showed, quiet and kind, sharing a smoke with Scarlet by the fire pit, their laughter a exorcism of old haunts. The day dawned pearl gray, September's equinox light soft on the water. Guests trickled in. 50 souls, a mosaic of flannel and flowy dresses, kids chasing frisbees on the dunes. My sister officiated, her voice steady as she invoked the sea's eternal churn. "Elena and Scarlet, you've weathered literal and figurative storms. Today, you pledge calm in the gales." We stood barefoot in the surf's edge, waves kissing ankles, exchanging rings and words. Mine. "You are my horizon, Scarlet, endless, pulling me home." Hers. "In your eyes, I found the courage to bloom, no matter the frost." Cheers erupted as we kissed, salt-tanged and searing, the sound applauding with swells. The reception unfolded on blankets, feasts of local oysters and berry pies, dances to fiddles and feet stomping sand. As dusk painted the sky violet, Scarlet pulled me aside, to the jetty's end, lighthouse beams sweeping like a blessing. 10 years hidden, one lifetime promised. "Thank you for seeing me." "And I you," I replied, our silhouettes merging against the tide. The storm that started it all felt eons away, its fury distilled to this: love, unapologetic, a beacon for others navigating their own tempests. In the years since, we've hiked new trails, adopted a rescue mutt named Thunder, mentored queer youth at the center. Storms still come, health scares, job losses, the world's relentless grind, but we face them tent to tent, truths bared, hearts entwined. For in sharing that night, we didn't just uncover a secret, we unearthed a legacy of resilience, proving that the deepest loves are forged not in calm, but in the roar. Yet legacies, like coastlines, erode and rebuild in unpredictable rhythms. 2 years post-vows, autumn leaves carpeting our backyard like confetti from forgotten celebrations, life settled into a groove, comfortable, if occasionally creaky. Scarlet's promotion to lead ranger meant more desk time, less dirt under nails, her uniform starched, but spirit untamed. I landed a steady gig at a queer-owned design firm, illustrating covers for sapphic novels that echoed our own tale. Our home, a fixer-upper craftsman in Wallingford, bore marks of U.S. Murals of wildflowers on the nursery wall, still empty, by choice for now, a shelf groaning with guidebooks and graphic novels. But grooves can widen to chasms. It started subtly, a letter from Scarlet's high school alma mater, inviting alumni for a reunion gala with proceeds to anti-bullying initiatives. They're highlighting stories of resilience, she read over breakfast, tone laced with irony, her oatmeal spoon pausing midair. I knew that school, the same linoleum halls where slurs had scarred her, lockers dented from slammed fists. "Go," I urged, squeezing her knee under the oak table. "Show them the woman you became, not to spite it, but because." She went, dressed in button-down and boots, me in tow as +1. The gym, once a coliseum of cruelty, twinkled with string lights and folding tables laden with punch. Faces from faded yearbooks milled, some softened by time, others sharp as regrets. Jake, the party host of infamy, clapped Scarlet on the back, beer belly straining his polo. "Scar. Heard you're hitched to Elena, congrats. Water under the bridge, eh?" His laugh boomed, but her smile was steel. Later, by the bleachers, a cluster of former cheerleaders approached, one, blonde and Botoxed, fidgeting with her clutch. "We were awful back then. The rumors. We spread them." "I'm sorry." Scarlet's nod was gracious, but I saw the tremor in her jaw. Apology accepted. Just remember, words are wildfires too. The night ended with toasts to survivors, her speech, unscripted, voice cracking on the edges, drawing tears and applause. Driving home through sodium-lit streets, She exhaled like surfacing from depths. Cathartic. But damn, it stirs the silt. Silt indeed. Days later, a package arrived, anonymous, postmarked from Tacoma. Inside, yellowed news clippings from a decade prior. Local teen in scandalous affair, grainy photos of a bonfire party, Scarlett's face blurred but unmistakable. Accompanying note, typed and venomous. Some truths never die. Ask your wife about the full story. My blood iced as I handed it to her, kitchen clock ticking like a bomb. She scanned it, color draining, then crumpled it into the sink, igniting it with a match from the spice drawer. Flames licked the edges, acrid smoke curling. Ex-classmate probably. Bitter echo. Ignore it. But ignoring proved futile. Sleepless nights followed, her tossing beside me, murmurs of, what if they find out? I pressed, gentle but insistent, over walks in Green Lake, ducks paddling oblivious circles. Find out what, Scarlett? The clippings are old news. What's the full story? Rain misted our hoods, Fremont Bridge arching like a question mark in the distance. She stopped under a willow, branches draping like veils. The baby. The word dropped like a stone into still water, ripples spreading shock through me. Senior year after Lila. Things spiraled. I was a mess, drinking to numb, hooking up with Jake at that party, thinking it'd prove something. Woke up to blue lines on a stick. Abortion clinic in Seattle, alone, because I couldn't face anyone. Mom would have locked me in prayer. I didn't want your pity. My mind reeled, piecing fragments. Her month-long, backpacking absence, the weight loss, the way she'd flinched at baby shower invites in college. Scarlett. Why hide that from me? We were best friends then. I would have held your hand. Tears stung, mingling with drizzle, not from betrayal, but the isolation she'd endured. Because shame is a hell of a silencer, she whispered, arms wrapping self-consciously. I was 17, terrified, convinced I was irredeemable. The clinic was clinical, stirrups cold, doctor kind but detached. Afterward, cramps like knives, bleeding for days. I told myself it was a secret grave, buried deep. Even after coming out to you, it stayed locked. Feared it'd make me less worthy of this. Her gesture encompassed us, the lake, the life we'd built. I pulled her close, rain soaking through, heart aching with retroactive fury at the world that had forced her silence. You're more worthy because of it. Surviving that? It forged your steel. Our steel. We stood there, weeping and whispering, the revelation a purge, painful, purifying. That night, over chamomile and confessions, she detailed it all. The nausea hidden in flu, the clinic's waiting room filled with faces like hers, young, scared, silent. I named her in my head, Willow, for the strength I hoped she'd have. Never told a soul till now. The telling healed fissures I'd not known existed. We sought counseling, not crisis, but consolidation, a queer therapist in the U District with the Office of Plants and Patients. Sessions unearthed more. My own buried abortions, a college mishap, shrugged off as life happens, our shared ledger of losses lightening in the sharing. It bonded us tighter, intimacy evolving to include vulnerabilities once veiled. Fall deepened, leaves flaming out in fiery farewell, and we channeled the churn into creation. A blog, storms shared, anonymous at first, chronicling queer resilience, abortion stories, coming out scars, love's quiet rebellions. Posts garnered quiet traction, comments from women worldwide. You voiced my silence. Scarlett illustrated, her sketches raw and redemptive. Women rising from ashes, roots entwining underground. Winter solstice brought levity, a surprise trip to the San Juans, ferry slicing fog to Orcas Island's embrace. We hiked to the top, views of snow-capped peaks and inland sea, her hand warm in mine. No more graves, she said at the summit, scattering wildflower seeds into the wind. Only gardens now. Laughter echoed, free and full. Spring 2028 greened with promise, our third anniversary marked by planting that Nursery Walls Flowers IRL, a community plot for queer families, trowels turning soil like pages. But storms, eternal, brewed anew, a state bill threatening reproductive rights, echoes of her past politicized. We rallied, signs aloft at the Capitol, her voice amplified through a megaphone. My body, my silence broken. Yours next if we don't fight. The battle raged months, vigils in the chill, calls to legislators till throats raw. Victory came narrow, a veto in the 11th hour, celebrations in the streets with hugs from strangers. Exhausted but exalted, we collapsed at home, takeout ties steaming, toasting with Singa. We did that, I said, tracing her ring. Together. Summer simmered, travels beckoning. A road trip down the Oregon coast, Highway 101's curves hugging cliffs and kelp-strewn beaches. Camped at Cannon Beach, Haystack Rock looming like a sentinel, we shared a tent again. No storm, just stars pricking the velvet sky. Remember, she murmured, zipped in close. That night changed everything. And keeps changing, I replied, kissing her temple. Fireside stories flowed, future visions, fostering teens like our younger selves, a book from the blog, retirements hiking the PCT, dawn gilded the waves, goals crying promises. Yet autumn whispered warnings. Scarlett's annual checkup flagged anomalies. Just monitor, Doc said, but shadows lengthened. Biopsies blurred into blur. Stage 1, treatable a mantra. Chemo's grip was grim. Her hair sheared to stubble, my vigils at infusions, holding basins and hands. Not fair, she raged one night, for dripping defiance. We earned our peace. We'll fight for more, I vowed, curling beside her hospital bed, monitors beeping lullabies. Treatments told, but community rallied. Meal trains, park pals pruning our plot, Lila sending care packages from NYC. Mom visited, reading psalms without sermons, her quilt a talisman. Remission rang like bells by New Year's, bald head regrowing curls like hope's first shoots. Phoenix, Scarlett joked, mirror-gazing. We honeymooned late. In Hawaii, trade winds kissing big island black sands, snorkels revealing coral kingdoms. Underwater, hands linked, we floated weightless, cancers and closets distant drifts. Back home, scars mapped new chapters, advocacy amped, her testimony at hearings. Cancer taught me, hide nothing, live loud. Our book deal landed. 10 truths, lesbian love in the long shadow. Pre-orders pouring. Launch night at Elliott Bay Books, shelves groaning under copies, readings drew tears and cheers. A decade post-storm, our 40ths intertwined in a joint bash, balloons and bourbon, guests toasting to hidden truths unveiled. Willow's seed grew metaphorical. We mentored a girl, 16 and scared, post-abortion, her eyes lighting at our tale. You make it seem possible. It is, Scarlett said, arm around me. Storms pass, roots remain. As twilight fell on our garden, fireflies winking, I leaned into her, the woman who'd shared a tent, a truth, a life. 10 years hidden birthed 30 of bloom. Kisses in kitchens, arguments aired, adventures etched. Our story, no fairy tale but flesh and blood epic, whispered to the winds. Love, once buried, rises eternal, a force no tempest can tame. Roots, though resilient, tangle in unexpected soils. 5 years on, mid-40s found us rooted deep in Seattle's loam. Scarlett consulting for national parks, her expertise on wildfire recovery and demand, jetting to Yellowstone one week, consulting in the Smokies the next. I helmed the design firm, my illustrations gracing billboards for pride campaigns, bold lines of intertwined figures against stormy skies. Our home evolved. The nursery bloomed into a guest room for Ments, walls alive with their art, swirls of color from kids finding voices. But travel bred distance, subtle at first. Her absences stretched, conferences in D.C., where cherry blossoms mocked our missed anniversaries. Texts bridged gaps. Miss your laugh in lecture halls. Home soon X. Yet homecomings carried jet lag's edge. Conversations clipped over carryout. You're gone more than here, I said one November eve, leaves skittering across our fence like fleeing thoughts. Rain lashed windows, echoing old tempests. She sighed, packing for another flight, flannel rumpled. It's for us, funding the foundation, those kids' scholarships. The foundation, our joint venture, Storm Roots, grants for queer youth in crisis, born from her cancer clarity. Noble, yes, but devouring.
He conceded, sipping her bag.
Just us first. The kiss goodbye tasted of promise and postponement. Cracks widened over Christmas, her stranded in Denver blizzards while I hosted family solo. Mom, now ally-in-chief, baked pies with love wins crusts, Dad regaled with dad jokes. But the empty chair beside mine ached. She arrived eve's dawn, snow-dusted, bear-hugging all. Miss this, she breathed, but fatigue shadowed her eyes. New Year brought rupture. A call mid-January. Promotion, lead ecologist, DC base. Think. Voice buoyant over speaker, but my gut nodded. DC?
That's
uprooting everything. Silence stretched, crackling like ice. We could make it work, visits, remote for you. But visions flashed. Empty bed, foundation faltering, our garden untended. We tabled it through Valentine's, a weekend getaway to Leavenworth, Bavarian village blanketed white. Mulled wine warmed, sleigh rides jingled, but talk circled drains. It's not just the job, she admitted, glowwine steaming between mittened hands. The city's energy, museums marches. Feels alive, like when we first came out. Jealousy pricked, not of place, but fear of fading in her rear view. Am I still alive for you? The question slipped, raw as exposed wire. Her face fell, gloves off, hands cupping mine. God, Elena, you're my pulse. This is midlife itch, maybe 45 staring back, wondering what next. Tears froze on lashes, and we thawed in the inn's hearth, confessions crackling like logs. Stay, I whispered. Build here. DC's a chapter. We're the book. She withdrew the application, but the itch lingered, manifesting in restlessness, night classes on climate policy, volunteering at urban farms. I matched her energy, co-launching a workshop series, queer ecologies, blending her wilds with my visuals, sessions in community centers where elders swapped stories of Stonewall-era hidings, youth sketched futures green and gay. Spring greened forgiveness, but summer scorched anew. A foundation retreat in the Olympics, ironic, our origin woods, drew donors and drama. One patron, silver-haired and sharp-suited, cornered Scarlet post-hike. Your work's vital, but personal life stable? Burnout's a bitch. His pat on her arm lingered, implication clear, the butch ranger better soften for funding. She vented that night, tent flap zipped against drizzle, habit die hard. As if my queerness disqualifies expertise. Rage boiled to intimacy, our lovemaking fierce, reclaiming agency in gasps. But the slight festered, donor pulling support weeks later, citing misalignment. Whispers followed, old prejudices in new suits. Fall's harvest yielded backlash, online trolls dredging her teen clippings, twisting abortion history into unfit leader smears. Foundation board wavered, emails terse. PR hit, step back? Scarlet, ever the fighter, went public, op-ed in The Stranger, from closet to clear-cut, why queer women lead in crisis. It went viral, shares surging, new donors flooding, queer philanthropists' allies amplified. Winter wrapped us in reflection, solstice fire pit crackling as we burned effigies of doubts, paper foes fed to flames. We're unbreakable, she said, ash smudging cheeks. But unbreakable bends. Early 2030s, my doc flagged perimenopause, hot flashes like mini-storms, moods swinging wild. Hormones, I grumbled, fanning myself in meetings. Scarlet adapted, stalking fans and wit. My hot tamale. Yet empathy's mirror reflected her own midlife markers, knees creaking on hikes, silver threading auburn. A joint therapy tune-up unearthed it. We're aging into unknowns, she admitted, couch sagging under us. Kids? Or content aunties? Legacy beyond foundations. Talks turned tender, fostering revisited, not for babies but teens, short-term harbors for storm-tossed youth. Our first placement arrived May. Jordan, 17, non-binary, fleeing Bible Belt conversion camps. Wide-eyed and wary, they arrived with a duffel and defiance. Don't pity me, first words, unpacking in the guest room. We didn't, boundaries set, therapy mandated, but space for stories. Nights, Jordan sketched with me, wild inks of hybrid creatures. Days, trailed Scarlet on park walks, learning not tying as metaphor for ties that hold. Challenges churned, Jordan's nightmares shattering silences, school bullies echoing old halls. One blow-up, shattered mug, accusations of fake allies, sent them bolting to the porch, rain sheeting. Scarlet followed, sitting damp beside. We get rage. Hid mine for years, loved Elena in secret, lost a piece of myself young. You're safe to be whole here. Words bridged, Jordan thawing, hugs tentative then tight. Summer deepened bonds, beach bonfires, Jordan toasting marshmallows with tentative grins. You're weirdly okay, they said, sparks ascending. Fall brought goodbyes. Jordan to college, scholarship funded, dorm bound with our quilt. Their note. You taught roots grow anywhere. Love, J. Empty nest echoed, but we filled it. Travelite, Portland's food carts, Vancouver's seawall bikes. 40th high school reunion loomed, full circle. We attended, gym same, but souls shifted. Jake, grayer, bought rounds. The blonde apologizer now out herself, wife in tow. Scarlet keynote, from slurs to solidarity. Thanks for the push. Applause thundered, our hands linked under tables, a quiet triumph. Mid-50s dawned with diagnoses, her arthritis flaring in fingers once sure on axes, my vision blurring sketches. Adaptations, voice-to-text, adaptive tools, but spirit soared. Foundation thrived, chapters in 10 states, Ments like Jordan alumni leading. Our book sequel, Roots Entwined, bestseller status, tours to book clubs where fans shared parallels. One eve, autumn gold gilding the sound from our deck, Scarlet raised a glass. 10 years hidden, 50 shared. Best plot twist. I clinked, sunset bathing us rose. Storms had shaped, not shattered, our love, a evergreen, bending eternal. Evergreens weather, but entropy nibbles. 60s crept sly, silver fully claiming Scarlet's crown. My curls cropped practical. Retirement beckoned, her park's pension solid. My firm sold to a collective ensuring queer hires. We decamped part-time to a cabin near Hood Canal, firs whispering welcomes, deck overlooking tidal flats where eagles wheeled. Mornings, coffee black, books open, her on ecology tomes, me on memoirs of muted loves. But 60s sting. Scarlet's arthritis migrated to hips, hikes shortened to ambling paths. Cane a companion, she cursed colorful. Damned thing. Worse than trolls. I massaged, knots nightly, lavender oil slick, our touches tender evolutions. My own battles. Osteoporosis whispers, bones brittle as old branches. Yoga mats my battlefield. We're crumbling. I joked over Scrabble, tiles clacking. But gracefully, like ruins romanticize. Grace frayed when the foundation faltered. Post-pandemic shifts, funding droughts, board squabbles, left it limping. A young exec, ambitious and abrasive, clashed with Scarlet's ethos. We need corporate sponsors, not just square dollars. Emails escalated, her response fiery. Sellouts silent stories. Resignation loomed, but legacy tugged. We mediated at a retreat, Okanagan orchards, apples tart as tensions. Around campfires, truths aired. The XX closeted youth, our own scars. Compromise born, hybrid model, ethics clause etched. Scarlet state advisor, wisdom her currency, stepping back with relief. Time for us, she said, orchard breeze ruffling. Us bloomed in idols, kayaks on the canal, seals nosing wakes, winter escapes to Palm Springs, palms swaying ironic against our chill joints. Family swelled, my sister's grandkids, towhead whirlwinds calling us Nana's Scarlina, holiday chaos of cookies and carols. Scarlett's folks, Frylia now, visited the cabin. Dad fly fishing, creaky casts, mom quilting with grandkids, her stitches looser, love tighter. 70 ambush softly. A fall, Scarlett slipping on wet dock planks, hip fracturing like thunderclap. Hospital haze. Or lights harsh. My vigil endless. Titanium now, she quipped post-op, morphine slurred. Rehab ground. Walkers clanging halls. PT a gauntlet. I read aloud from our books. Voices mingling in monotony. Homecoming. Cabin retrofitted. Ramps and rails like badges. Healing Hapter mobility, but not spirit. Adaptive adventures. E-bikes on rail trails. Viewpoints conquered wheezing. Slow is the new bold, she declared, binoculars spying orcas breaching. Yet nights, pain pinched, sleep fractured. Miss dancing, she confessed, waltzing air in bed. I hummed Portland tunes, guiding her steps in sheets. My turn came autumnal, cardiac murmur escalating to ablation, wires snaking veins. Zapped like a glitchy sketch, I texted Jordan, now a Professor Scarlett's hand steady through sedation, post-op fussing with jello and jokes. My heart's always been yours, now it's tuned. 70s deepened intimacies, conversations meandering like rivers, regrets aired gentle. Wish we'd foster more, or should've traveled Asia pre-aches. No rancor, just reflections ripening wisdom. Foundation thrived sans us, men's leading, a full circle where we learned from youth. 80 loomed luminous. A legacy project. Oral histories, voices from the veil, recording queer elders like us. Mic'd in the cabin, fire crackling, we recounted. Tense storm, teen tombs, triumphs triumphed. Scarlett's voice gravelly now, hid 10 years, lived 50 loud. Worth every whisper. Transcripts bound, gifted to libraries, archives of authenticity. Family gathered for unveilings, great-grandkids, sisters line prolific, finger-painting covers, laughter layering lore. One equinox, sound shimmering equanimous, Scarlett wheeled to the deck, me beside. Storm's eve, she murmured, clouds banking. Rain pattered tentative, then poured, fierce, familiar. We sheltered porch eaves, hands clasped, watching deluge dance. If another tent night calls, she teased, I'm game, minus the mud. Laughter pealed, thunder rumbling assent. 80 candles flickered later, cake crumbs confetti, toasts to hidden truths, endless dawns. As night cloaked, her head on my shoulder, breath synced, I whispered, forever's our best-kept secret, no more hiding. In the roar, peace profound, love, weathered to essence, a quiet gale sustaining. Essence distills, but time's alembic unrelenting. 80s etched fine lines deeper, movements measured, memories molten. Our cabin, companion to decades, sagged sympathetic, roof patched, porch rails grippy. Morning's ritual, tea steeped slow, Scarlett's arthritic hands trembling cups, mine steadying. Afternoons, audiobooks droning classics, her head in lap, fingers carding silver strands. Health's harvest soured sporadic.
Scarlett's maculade Generation Blu-ray Horizons, Charts Fuzifos.
World's watercolor now, she quipped, audio guides her guide. I described, eagle at 2 o'clock, wingspan wide. Low vision classes bonded us, braille trails, tech tricks, her adapting with artist's eye, sketching tactile maps. My cognition faltered faint, names evading like fog, keys misplaced mid-reach. Alzheimer's shadow, docs danced, scans equivocal. Scarlet anchored, labeled drawers, photo albums thumbed, stories retold till wrote. Your plot's etched in me, she'd say, eyes twinkling dim. 90s neared nomadic. Assisted living beckoned. Independent, wing in a Kitsap facility, views of the sound from every window. Reluctant move, packing ghosts, cabin leased to a young queer couple paying forward. New digs, compact but cozy, balcony blooms tended communal. Neighbors knit a net, widower Walter swapping war stories, lesbian pair from 70s sharing coup tales. Foundation visits virtual now, Zooms with successors, Jordan, graying guru, reporting expansions, international arms, scholarship seeding saplings. Your roots, they say, screen glowing. Pride persists paired, wheelchair parades, rainbow sashes pinned proud. Family filaments fray yet hold. Great-greats toddle visits, sticky fingers on photos. Nana's tent story. We embellish. Thunder effects thumped. Mom, 90s herself, calls weekly, voice quaver. Love you girls. Church praise inclusive now. Her evolution, our quiet victory. Intimacy intimates evolved. Touches telegraphic, a hand squeeze lexicon, love, listen, linger. Beds twin for ease, but nights nestly near. Breaths a duet fading. Still sparks, scarlet murmurs, lips brushing knuckles. Centenary whispers wild. Docs marvel. Genes and grit. Celebrations cascade. Virtual toasts from global grantees. Family flotilla on the sound. Boats beeping horns. Cake velvet, 100 candles. Hers first, mine trailing. Song warbling off-key. Post-fate. Balcony vigil. Stars sharp despite her blur. 10 years hit a century's worth. She reflects. Cane tapping rhythm. Rain threatens, holds. Storm befitting end. I jest. She squeezes. Not end encore. Thunder grumbles distant, approval perhaps. In quiet, our narrative nestles. From tense tempest to twilight's truce. Love the through line. Truths the treasure. Hidden once, broadcast boundless. A beacon for tempests yet to break. Encores extend. But curtains call. Hundreds halved, mobility marooned, wheelchairs standard, transfers tandem. Facility friends thin. Walter passes peaceful, the 70s pair to memory care. We remain, relics radiant, stories our scepter. Scarlet sight succumbs severe, total dark by 98, world whispers only. Audio all, podcasts pulsing, my narrations nightly, news nips, novel chapters, nature logs from balcony birds. Your voice, my vista, she says, palm to cheek. My mind meanders more, loops in logic, yesterday's overriding today's. Tent again. I query mid-muddle. She orients. Always love. Storm shared. Patience her potion, puzzles her prop, jigsaws voiced, pieces placed by feel. 90s tale, pneumonia pounces her, lungs labored. Hospital hum. Beeps banal, my chair vigil. Fight. I urge but frailty flags. Remission reluctant, home hospice hushed. Bed by window, sound symphony. Gulls guffaw, fairies hoot. Family flocks final. Jordan jets, grand lineage gathers. Tales traded tearful, tent thunder, truths told. Legacy lives. Jordan affirms, hand in hers. One eve, sunset symphonic, she stirs. Elena, remember Portland dance? Voice vapor. I hum the tune swaying seated. Every step. More. Whisper weak. Always.
Kishkul. Sloshberg cleans.
Dawn drizzles delicate. Monitors mute mid-morning. Breath still serene. I hold, howling silent, century cleaved. Grief gales, but garden grows. Memorial maritime. Ashes to sound, boats bearing blooms. Eulogies echo. Scarlet, storm's daughter, love's lighthouse. Solitude season slow. Hundreds hold. Facility familiar. Friends fled but foundation fervent. Updates uplift. Men's mail art. Writing wanes, but whispers persist. Journals joint, her hand guiding mine post-passing. Our story, yours now. Centenary crests quiet. Cake communal, candles few, lungs limit. Toast tender, 'tis scarlet spark.
Balconi benediction, rein reminiscing. Drops drum deck, tunder thesis.
In patter, presence pulses, her laugh latent, love layered. 10 years hidden birthed boundless, tense truth, timeless. Storm sculpt survivors, ours, a saga sung eternal. Timeless tides turn, but echoes endure. Months mourn morph to months mended, my 101 solitary yet sustained. Days dissolve dreamy, meds mellow, memories merge. Scarlet smile superimposes sunsets, tenth thunder in every tempest. Care circles close, aids attentive, family fortnightly. Jordan's visits vivid, tales of foundation flourishing, global groves, grants greening lives. Writing waivers whimsical, dictations drift, but devotion drives, memoir mandate, her hidden, our horizon, co-credited cosmos. Scribe transcribes trembles, pages pulsing passion. She confessed in chaos, I claimed in calm. Love, lightning struck, lit our long arc. Spring sprouts surprises, a sapling from our plot, potted porch side. Willow whisper, willows nod. Watering ritual, roots remind, resilience ripples. Summer simmers simple, sound sojourns in chairlift, wails waving distant. Pride paired personal, flag folded lap, memories marching. Autumn aches advance, breath burdens, bed bound. Hospice harmonies, harpists hush halls, hands hold. Scarlet waits, I murmur monitors, morphine misting. Family finale frames, bedsides brim, blessings bestowed. Your storm story saves, a great grand size, tears tracing. Dusk deepens December, window watching waves. Rain rallies reminiscent, patter profound, thunder tribute. Coming love, I breathe, blindsiding blink. Breath breaks beatific, sound serenading send-off. Legacy lingers, book launches luminous, foundation forever, tent truths teaching timeless. In ether, embrace eternal, hidden no more, hearts horizon bound. Storm shared, souls synced, our ode, ocean deep.